I'm not seeing it yet. It's still showing my last Sudha live. It's saying it's streaming. Let's see. Not yet. Here we are. This is a strange state to wait.
We are live.
Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Sudha Jamte. I'm filling in for our usual host, Yashashwini, today. And this is WeeklyWed, our global speaker series at Business School of AI. That's my student community, learner community from various places in the world. I am a technology futurist. I'm joining you here from Silicon Valley. And today we are going to do this differently. Instead of a speaker come in, talk about their experience in a typical Q&A mode, we once a month end up doing a masterclass. And that is the masterclass today on the topic of AI in ad tech. And I'm very, very excited to learn from our amazing speaker. Let me see if I can bring her here on air. And joining us from Seattle is Sankari Govindarajan. Sankari, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So for those of you who are new, because I see some new faces here, we are recording this and streaming this on YouTube. And we do that primarily to record and get a copy that we can share in the newsletter and other places via Business School of AI on LinkedIn. And so if you're seeing this later, this is the place for you to come back once a week and continue your learning journey and meet other people. So we keep this on Zoom as a limited set of people who join so we can drive a conversation and listen and learn. And for those of you who are here on Zoom, since this is recorded, if you do not want to be on air, then stay on off camera. And if you don't want to, even your voice to be recorded, don't speak up. Otherwise, you're welcome to ask questions, as long as we let the speaker drive this because it's a masterclass. Okay. I think that's the main logistics. And then I have an exciting announcement to share. Many of you were asking for an email-based Gen AI course. So I'm just going to take a moment to show that. Here it is. It is on businessschoolofai.teachable.com, and I will share this URL with you later. So basically, it's a 15 days email, one email per day, and it'll take like 5 minutes for you to just read the email quickly. And you will learn every single concept of Gen AI with no code. So that's the idea. And you can see all the details for it here. And here we go. Okay. So with that, I'm going to stop the share and see if, oh, Deepika is here. Deepika, you have signed up for the Gen AI course, right? The 15-day Gen AI course.
I have signed up for it. Yes.
And what day are you in?
I'm on day 4.
So how does it work? You just get only one email per day.
Yeah, I think it's really great because it's like bite-sized content. And it's like I take a mini course throughout the day. So every single day I am learning something about Gen AI that I wasn't aware of the day before. And then in 15 days, I kind of am excited to just be able to talk about what I've learned from this course every day.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to remove Deepika from the screen here. Thank you, Deepika. And many of you gave feedback and said it's not enough if you just learn whatever the format, but you wanted to do a capstone. So we've included a mini capstone, but I don't want to take more time talking about the course because I want to give enough time for our speaker. So for those of you who are joining here, this is the AI in Ad Tech Masterclass at WeeklyWed. And I'm going to pass it on to our speaker. So Shankari, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your background? How did you come into ad tech? And I'm so glad you're here.
I'm really, really excited to be here as well. So I have been working in machine learning for the past 5 years. And I started working in machine learning when I joined Masters. And post that, I joined Expedia, and I've been with the company for close to 3 years now. And that is where I got into ad tech. So I'm currently working with the marketing organization within Expedia. So specifically, I work on ad bidding algorithms. Basically, we generate optimal bids for posting our advertisements on partner websites like Google and so on. So that is how I got into ad tech.
So where did you do your master's? What is the master's on?
I went to University of Southern California in LA, and I did my master's in computer science, in general computer science, but yeah, it was more focused towards machine learning.
So when you were doing your master's itself, it was on machine learning. Did you focus on ad tech, or was it more broad on several industries?
It was broader. So I got introduced to machine learning when I started my master's in USC. And that was just general. And post that, I was working within computer vision domain for a few months, I would say, with the research lab at USC. And then I moved into Expedia and started my journey on ad tech.
That's awesome. We are lucky that you got into ad tech, so we get to learn from you. So for those of us who are, there might be people here who are in the ad tech industry, or you're in ad industry, not yet in digital, or in doing machine learning or computer vision or something else altogether, right? So one thing I would request for the people here on Zoom is feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're joining from, because we are a very global group, and one of the things we are very, very particular is that we bring the diversity and different perspective. That's what we need in building AI wherever we are, and applying AI in a very inclusive way. So tell us about that. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm here from Silicon Valley in California. And Sankari, you're joining from Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
awesome.
basically, yeah.
So I have one basic question, because if you're not working in the field, then you are on the receiving end of ads. And there was this news about streaming ads that Google has launched.
Mhm.
And we were looking at that and thinking, I was looking at that and I was thinking, oh, isn't there already ads in there? And then the way the news came was how many $1 billion Google would make in this from a business perspective, and how it is optimized. So I'm hoping with the bidding process, you're going to teach us that. So the other dimension I have seen is, I have worked in eBay in my past, and I'm familiar with, there are keywords that we bid, and then we want to own that instead of our competition, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that all in ad tech? Are there more players in the ecosystem? Just tell me what the ad tech players are.
Sure. So if we consider any advertising or marketing in general, there is a buyer component and there is a seller. Buyer has few requirements and seller has the solution or product that would satisfy the requirement. Traditionally, how we were doing is we randomly, or we were searching, buyer as well as seller was searching for connecting to each other. But with digital advertising and with ad tech, what has happened is that mapping has been easier, and digital advertising and ad tech has made it more powerful, and the reach, basically the outreach of sellers to the corresponding buyers, and that interaction has been made smoother. So that main players, if we consider, then it would be the buyer, seller, and the platform in which they are interacting. So those would be the main player when it comes to ad tech.
But there's a whole, especially with the digitization, I remember in eBay, it used to be billions of keywords. It's not billions, maybe millions of keywords, right? And so if eBay as a business want to be found, and they would say, these are all the keywords by which our users could potentially be searching for us. And then we need to bid for that keyword on Google and maybe a couple other platforms. So I remember I used to be in analytics, which was more product oriented. And there was this whole marketing analytics team whose entire living was to manage platforms, to organize this bidding. so that we get the customers in to eBay and at the same time optimize the cost of each bid. And is that what the platform is? Is there like, is this platform from Google? Are there many layers of platform from different people from industry?
I would say whatever you described is one end of the equation. It's just one part of it. Definitely, yeah. So whatever you described is the advertiser perspective. So you're trying to, in your case, you would have tried to market eBay products on, say, Google is one of the platforms.
Yeah.
Could be any other platform. It could be Amazon, it could be Netflix, it could be anything. So the variations and the type of advertisement that you mentioned was more like a search engine marketing.
Yeah.
So that is one of the variations of advertising. So again, bidding component is one part of the equation. The other part, again, in the part of publisher, like towards what we see, what happens behind Google or Netflix, how they choose advertisements, and they don't want to bombard their users with advertisements and not retain their users. No one would want to visit a website which is full of advertisements. So there's another set of algorithm and backend logic and a lot of sophisticated, complex logic going behind in the backend of the publisher end as well. So that is how we as users get connected between to the right advertisers and we purchase products. So that is all, everything together makes it an ad life cycle or marketing life cycle.
It's beautiful because I think I was still bringing the buyer perspective when you were saying buyer, right? eBay or any of the companies who want to bring us in as users is the buyer perspective. And so similarly, there are publishers and others who are selling the keywords, right? On the seller side. Beautiful. So why don't we do this? I will let you, I think you have the host access, so you can share your deck and you can drive it away however you want so that anybody who's new in the field can learn. And for those of you who are here, if you're already in the industry, we would like to know whether, is this your field? Have you already been working in there? Maybe, like I was giving an example, but I don't believe at that time when I was involved in this, it was done with machine learning. So if you're working on machine learning or machine learning in this field, feel free to add comments and resources in the chat, and I will bring it out to the YouTube. And this recording will be shared in our newsletter, and we'll put everything out on Business School of AI on LinkedIn. So with that, I am going to mute myself and pass my control to our speaker, Sankari Govindaraj. Take it away, Sankari.
Yeah. Like Sudha had already set the stage up. So we are going to just have a discussion about what ad tech is and how does it all work together, how the magical connection between a buyer and seller actually happens, and how we actually get targeted with the ads that we are specifically interested about and things like that. So this is a very, very intro level and a very basic level discussion about ad tech. So this is our agenda today. We will first try to understand what is digital advertising and why do we need digital advertising? And then we will understand what ad tech and how it is different from that of digital advertising. Ad tech and digital advertising, the terminologies have been used interchangeably, but they are different. Ad tech powers digital advertising. And then we can go over, we did have a brief discussion about the players and what are the components that are present within ad tech. We'll go in depth about how they actually interact with each other and how it all stitches together as one single workflow. And then we'll go over one particular strategy of ad tech. It's a very commonly followed strategy for advertisement between buyers and sellers, and that is real-time bidding. And then eventually we'll see how we can actually measure the impact and how we can know if a particular ad marketing or any campaign that we are using, how basically the seller efficiently measures their impact using ad tech is something that we can discuss and wrap up. So starting off with, if we all know that initially traditional advertising in the traditional fashion is advertisement on billboards or newspapers or magazines. These are the traditional modes, or these were the traditional modes of advertising. So the issue, what happened with traditional advertising is that, now say for example, if a person who doesn't like soda drinks, that person wouldn't really find any value out of this ad, this billboard, when they are probably passing by this billboard. So the same, if a person likes soda drinks, then it is good. They are benefiting out of this. So now, say for example, in the route where this billboard is placed, if there are like 100 people passing by, and if it is only 2 people who like soda drinks, then it's like just 2% people who are benefiting, or there is an 2% impact on viewing this advertisement. So the problem is that their ads are not personalized, and it is not relevant for that particular user. So we have to find out, or there could have been ways where we can efficiently market the product in a way that it reaches many people, and at the way that it caters to the people's need. So that is what started, or that is what led to digital advertising with internet, with social media platform, and with many other online platforms like streaming platforms like Netflix, YouTube, and say even I believe that we do get sponsored ads on even on App Store or Play Store, specific to suggesting specific to the kind of apps that we want to install on phones. So advertisements are everywhere and there is no escape from it. So digital advertising came into picture because of internet and big data, and the basically the way how all the devices are connected, and that enabled digital advertising. So this has led to the problems that we saw earlier that has been resolved by personalizing and also increasing the outreach of the ads. So that is why we need digital advertising. Now, in order to understand what is ad tech and how is it actually different from that of digital advertising, if you see, ad tech can be considered as a toolbox. It can be considered like a toolbox of software solutions, which has like individual software components, which when put together can power digital advertising. Now, when we speak of digital advertising, we are not talking about just one buyer and one seller. It is millions and billions, and it is across the globe. And it also should be in a way that whoever is the buyer, they should be able to reach the consumer basically the product should be accessible. It shouldn't be like the buyer is located in a different location, and it shouldn't be completely irrelevant to the user. So things like these need to be considered when we are trying to digitally advertise the products. So ad tech actually helps us with this. So basically for scaling out the solution of digital advertising and connecting the buyer and seller. And also not all the time that a suggestion that pops up, even we might have come across a scenario where suggestions pop up and that may or may not be relevant. So not all the time the products that get recommended, that gets advertised to the user is the right product or it is a right suggestion. So the buyer, when they are trying to purchase, before they are trying to make a purchase decision, they go through a lot of steps. There is something called this customer journey altogether. I believe that there was a different discussion on it earlier in the WeeklyWed series on next best action. So customer journey, next best action, they're all related to each other. So basically it is to understand the consumer behavior life cycle in order to see how they are going to purchase a particular ad. So using that data, the seller can optimize their strategies, their bidding strategies, their campaign strategies, and the way they are actually advertising on different platforms. So these have been made possible by using ad tech. So basically achieving a larger scale, that is the main goal of making use of ad tech. And it has also impacted the way in which we are reaching out to the different users who are located in different locations. So that has been the main necessity or the main need of why we want why we want to have ad tech in digital advertising. Now, when it comes to the components, they can be considered in two sections. Like we can see that there are a set of players who are actually basically the entities who are involved in advertising, and the engineering component of ad tech that powers this advertising. So we'll go in depth in the next slides, but then to give a high level, some of the main engineering components could be demand side platform, supply side platform, ad networks. These are some of the main components that basically power ad tech and also makes ad tech what ad tech is. So going into the players. So talking about the players, what we have is, if we have to draw a parallel between the buyer-seller, our buyer is basically user like you and me, and seller is the advertiser who is actually finding or looking for ways to market their product. They have their product and they want to map it, or they want to find the right user who actually requires the product. So that is the advertiser and user. Now, the platform, who is the middleman between the advertiser and user, is called as publisher. So these are the terminologies which are used in ad tech, or which are used in digital advertising. Publisher basically connects the advertiser and with the corresponding user. They have to ensure that they are correctly connecting the advertiser and the user. So that way they don't lose their users. Now, for example, if we are logging into, let's say, a streaming platform like YouTube. Now, we log into YouTube, and when we are trying to view videos, sometimes we get ad suggestions. And if these ad suggestions are not at all irrelevant, or if we as a user are constantly bombarded with ads, we wouldn't want to really use that platform. So the publisher has to have those things in mind as well. So in the publisher end, they'll have to make sure that the users are suggested with the relevant ad. And the other thing is they'll also have to paste the ad out correctly in a way that the users are not constantly annoyed with ads. It shouldn't become like we are looking for the content in the middle of ad, but it should be the other way around. So publishers also have to make sure, the other part of it would be that publisher also have to make sure that they are able to retain their advertisers. Publishers, platforms like Google, Netflix, they receive, or they are able to generate a large amount of revenue through advertisements. So they have the space and they have the availability to post advertisements, and they have to make sure that they are able to retain high brands and high quality brands, and also constantly evaluate new advertisers as well to be onboarded onto platform. So they have to make sure that there is a balance between the two, between advertisers and the users, and in a way that they are able to interact with each other. Now, say, for example, if we take an example scenario, say this is a snapshot that I took from a search when I tried searching for hotels to live in Seattle. So I did a search for hotels to stay in Seattle, and I got a lot of options for making a booking to one of the hotels. And now I decided to go with Four Seasons. Now, if I have to go with Four Seasons, and if I have to stay in Four Seasons and make a booking, again, I'll have multiple options to perform the booking. Now, in the publisher end, when the publisher has to post advertisements, they would have multiple options. Just for booking alone, they could have, like, say, 1,000 or 2,000 data points that they can display. Those are the available booking options that they can display to the user. But publisher cannot really display all the 2,000 options to the user because that would drive away the user. They would find the platform unfriendly. Now, publisher decides to choose only the top, say, 20 options, and they decide to list it. Now, in order to list the top 20 options, there are few things that the publisher considers to make sure that the advertisement or each of these, if you consider hotel.com, expedia.com, Four Seasons, etc., they're all advertisements. All these are different options, and everything that you see under sponsored or advertisement from the advertisers. So this is one way of marketing. Again, this is similar to that of the way how we get ads in the middle of while we are streaming videos or streaming content, or ads that we get like how Sudha was mentioning earlier, ads that we get on search engine page as part of the search engine result page. So now, coming back to our discussion on how the publisher actually selects the top N number or top 20 number of advertisements to be displayed here, there has to be some strategy. So the publisher has few things in order to make sure that their ad quality is also kept up to mark. Few things that are considered are quality score, the relevance of the ad itself to the user, and also bidding. So the bid amount. So similar to that of any auction that happens, like property auctions or material auctions that happen in real world, here users as well, like advertisers as well, bid for spots on the website. So whoever has bidded the highest amount gets the location, or they will be able to secure the location on the publisher's website. So that is the whole logic. Now, based on that, combining quality score, relevance score, as well as the bid value, in this case, hotels.com was a winner. So whoever wins the bid first secures the first place. Now, how or why is it important for securing a top position? Is because as a user in general, on an average, users really don't scroll down and try to evaluate all the options that they have, but instead they try to just go with the option that is available on the top n number of sections. So say if a user in general, on an average, usually people just go with the first 5 or 6 or so features, I mean 6 or so advertisements that are available, options that are available, and they make the booking via one of the options. So that is the main reason why advertisers also make sure that they are able to optimize their advertisements. They are able to optimize their bid value for the rank to be secured, or for the position to secure on the publisher's website. So that is a different concept again. That is another part of ad bidding strategy, where the advertisers also keep in mind about ad placement within the website. So this is one of the type of advertisement where the user has made a search and we get a list of options through which the booking can be performed. So this is one form of advertisement, and the other form could be, say, if you open a website, you could see advertisements placed on multiple positions within the website. So even in that, the placement on the banner, the top part of the website, versus placement somewhere in the middle of the website or in the sides of the website, the cost for these as well as the placement position actually makes a huge difference. Now, anyone who opens a website and if they see an advertisement that is placed right on top, the probability of a user clicking those advertisements is higher than the advertisements which are present somewhere in the middle or somewhere towards the side of the website. So advertisers try to optimize their bids depending upon the placement as well, depending upon the type of advertisement, depending upon the type of variation of advertising. And also they try to bid higher or bid lower, depending upon how much they can actually reach out to the user. So these are some of the this is the high level overview on how the buyer and seller interaction happens via the platform. So moving on to the technical components, the engineering components behind ad tech. So we did see in this picture, we did go over advertiser, publisher, and consumer. So we leave them out for now. Now going over the other components, DSP, ad exchange, SSP, and ad network. Starting off with ad exchange. So every publisher has to let know the advertiser as to what are the spaces that they have and how much is their open bid for that space. So how much are they actually quoting? What is the price value that they are quoting for a particular space in their website? So ad exchange can be considered as an inventory, or it can be considered as a storage for having all the slots information as well as the corresponding prices, which are basically set by the publisher. So it is more of a storage where publishers can set the prices. And from an advertiser perspective, advertiser can send their bid value, and that can be updated on the ad exchange as well. So coming back to the publisher, SSP is basically the supply side platform. We'll go over how these platforms stitch together and how the interaction and the workflow happens in the next slide. But then right now, we can just go over the pieces itself individually. So now supply side platform, what it does is it can be considered as an interface where the publisher are trying to one publisher would have like millions of advertisers. They would need a way that would efficiently manage, or they would allow them to efficiently pick an advertiser who would be more profitable to them as well. It's not like publishers can just post any advertisements, but it has to, like we saw before, publisher has to they also have a goal of retaining their users and also making sure that they are able to retain the advertisers, and they're also providing quality content on their website. So publishers can basically use SSP as an interface. The SSP has algorithms to pick the most profitable advertiser for the publisher. That is one of the use cases of SSP. From a publisher's perspective, the other thing that can happen is, say, during a highly demanding website, a heavy traffic website, publisher can change the prices dynamically depending upon the supply and demand. So SSP, again, can be used as an interface for dynamic price allocation as well. And of course, for real-time bidding, publisher is going to constantly interact to the advertiser via SSP. So that is more like a bridging component. Now, coming to the other side, on the advertiser end, the demand side platform. This again is an interface for the advertiser to communicate to the publisher. Now, it is through this the advertiser can push their bid values. They can they view the bid values, they view the open bids that are submitted by the publisher, and they can push the bid values that they want to bid on for an advertisement slot. And DSP then pushes this to ad exchange. So the demand side platform can also be used for understanding the publisher needs. Now, say, for example, if the user has multiple ads, if the publisher has multiple ad slots available, then the advertiser has to make sure that the users are correctly targeted and users are not just even advertisers would have multiple products, and users have to be correctly targeted with the right product which they have from their product ranges as well. So DSP could be used as one of the interfaces in a way that publisher, although they have multiple spaces, they are able to target the right users with the right ad. So DSP can be used as an interface for that. And also for dynamic bid adjustments, again, similar to that of how publisher is able to set prices dynamically, advertiser can also can also switch their bid values accordingly, according to the price, according to the bid prices in real time. And the other thing is that now advertisers, similar to that of publishers, how they have many advertisers available. Advertisers also have many publishers, and they could also be marketing through multiple channels. It could be through a streaming platform, it could be through search engine, or it could be social media, and so on. So advertisers can efficiently track each of the campaign that they are actually marketing, and they can track the efficiency of the campaign and make sure that they are actually getting the right returns from the campaigns. Now, campaigns in a very high level or in very simple terms, you can consider it as a project. So now say, for example, if one of the campaigns is actually being really profitable, then advertisers can use DSP and they can constantly track it. And that would that would help them in a way that they can actually invest more, or in case if a campaign is not really earning the money or returning it is not basically generating the ROI as expected, then they can pull back from that particular campaign. So these are the things that can be done using DSP from an advertiser end. Now, moving on to ad network, it's kind of closely related to that of ad exchange, but it is slightly different. The purpose is kind of similar. Ad network is going to have publisher can try to push the slots and the corresponding pricing information within ad network, and advertiser can pre-purchase these slots. Now, in ad exchange, what happens is advertisers try to purchase their slots on real time, but in ad network, they can pre-purchase it well in prior, and they know that their advertisements will get displayed on the publisher's website. One of the things that we can see between the ad exchange and ad network is that in ad exchange, every advertiser would have the transparency on who won the bid, or what was the actual bid value for which the slot was sold out. But in ad network, that kind of transparency would not be available. And also, ad network may or may not really return the results that the advertiser is looking for. So now, if the advertiser knows for sure their advertisement getting published on, say, YouTube, they would know that they can actually purchase some ad slots there within YouTube. And that would give them the return that they are expecting, but then not always that they will be able to control the user behavior through ad network. So that is how the two components differ. They are closely related, but they are different. But advertisers and publishers can use a mix of both in a way that, again, it depends on the historical past interactions and etc. So these are the main components that are essential for any ad tech. So what makes an ad tech? These components have to be there in the backend for the digital advertising to be done at scale. Now, the other component that we have here, DMP, which is Data Management Platform. This is optional, but if the advertiser or the publisher has to leverage the big data, basically leverage the efficiency of big data, they can track different activities of user, and they can track the different activities of advertisements, or basically how the campaigns are moving as well using DMP. And they can use these as more like a data storage and use it for training their models, or use it for performing marketing analysis, like how Sudha was mentioning earlier, to basically understand how they have to efficiently optimize their bidding strategy. If or not, they have to make any changes to their bidding strategy. So that is an optional component, but then that is also something that is part of ad tech. Now, this is something that we were saying earlier. So this is around the ad placement algorithm. So now in ad exchange, when I was mentioning that the publishers try to post their slots and the corresponding prices, this is what I was trying to say. So slots can be in different parts of the website. So this is something that we commonly notice. We access any website and we see advertisements in few of the web pages. So if we have to, if only the publisher would know where exactly the slots are available, because they know they will be able to control the content. So this is what they would actually post to the ad exchange, the slots and the corresponding pricing information. So this is an example of an advertisement that is being displayed as a banner ad on the Forbes website. So these are the main players, and these are the main engineering components behind in ad tech. So put together all these, the overall interaction between these components would form the digital advertising. And there are different strategies through which we can market again. So there are different variations of advertising. This is one form. And like we saw earlier, search engine results is one form, streaming is one form. And but pretty much all the ad setup or pretty much all the marketing setup would have a similar backend structure in the backend. So these components, there are many providers who have now, say, for example, Google Ad Exchange is quite popular solution that is available in market. And there are other players as well, like PubMatic, who have their solutions for DSP and SSP. So there are toolings that are readily available in market, and that are provided by companies. They can be put together, and we can basically we can form a structure, form a platform for making sure that there is an advertiser publisher interaction that is happening. There are companies who there are solutions provided by multiple companies like Moloco. There is Affinitive. These companies basically ensure that advertisers or publishers don't have to really worry about the ad tech part of things in the backend, and they make sure that they are able to they are able to have that outreach between the customers and the advertiser by enabling the ad tech setup is in place for them. So that is the main crux of how ad tech is and what are the engineering components that are present behind ad tech. Now, moving to one of the strategies which are used for ad tech. So one of the strategies which are used in ad tech for digital advertising is real-time bidding. Now, instead of bidding, like we saw earlier, any advertiser would try to bid for a particular slot in the publisher's website. Now, this is one of the ways in which they can buy the slot. But we also saw there was another way where they can purchase upfront in ad network. That does not involve bidding. So that is similar to that of a traditional, like a traditional advertising. Now, say in case if you take our billboard scenario, the advertiser would have pre-purchased that particular space from whoever is the owner of the billboard, and that would be available for a fixed amount of time. So there are similar non-programmatic strategies that are available in digital advertising as well. But again, it is not as efficient and as that of real-time bidding. It's not as efficient for both advertisers as well as for the publisher as that of real-time bidding, because the ads are going to be fixed and it may or may not be relevant to the user. Essentially, we're not really taking, or we are not really using the efficiency of data. In a real-time bidding scenario, what happens is user, we can now put together all the components that we saw individually in the previous section. User visits a website and they basically does a search or they visit a website. And what happens in the next stage is the SSP component that we saw, it collects the user information, the website information. Publisher could have multiple websites. So user information, website information, and also other information like demographics and also the slots that are available in website. And SSP collects those information and sends it out to the ad exchange. Now, ad exchange then notifies the advertiser. So it has to send a notification to the advertiser to let them know that there is a slot that is available in their website to post ads. So ad exchange then picks up that request. Ad exchange sends out a notification via DSP, and DSP is from where the advertiser will be able to control their advertisement. So now the advertiser has a choice whether or not they want to take up the request. So if they want to take up the request, they can they can basically quote a bidding amount, and they send out the bid response back through the same channel. So DSP sends it back to ad exchange, ad exchange sends it back to SSP. And SSP then can basically the publisher can then decide whether or not who are the advertisers they want to pick, whether or not to pick an advertisement or not. SSP has algorithms like we saw earlier. So SSP does it automatically and it picks the highest profitable ad and posts it on the website. So this is the overall interaction when it comes to real-time bidding. This happens in real time, in milliseconds, every time whenever we are visiting any website. Everything that we see is real-time bidding. Now, the bid values when we are submitting from an advertiser end, the bid values that we are submitting to the publisher, that could be done offline, but it can be also online. So advertisers need not be actively bidding on a particular slot, but they can, prior, they can submit a bid value that is a bunch of bid values offline. And they can also, there are other parameters like budget pacing and what are the campaigns they want to focus on. And advertisers can provide that information to the publisher, and publisher can manage it from that offline information. That is also another possibility. But very often, most often, whatever advertisements that we see on websites or websites apart from search engine, basically search engine results, is mostly online, and the advertisers constantly try to bid. Again, DSP is again automated, so they would be able to, there are bidding strategies, there are bidding algos within DSP that would be able to constantly fine tune the bids and send back the most optimal bid for the publisher. So this is the overall structure of real-time bidding. Now, does real-time bidding need to be machine learning driven? Need not be the case. It need not have machine learning algos running in any of these. It need not have machine learning involved at all, and it can be just rule-based. But leveraging machine learning again would make it more efficient, and it would make it fine-tune. We'll be able to fine-tune it according to the demand, according to the need of the user, or according to the need of the market at that moment. So the places where we can potentially see machine learning in real-time bidding is one of the things that we already saw was the dynamic bid adjustment. So depending upon whatever the dynamic component can be in both the publisher as well as on the advertiser end. So we did see earlier that the publisher can basically adjust their bid prices dynamically depending upon the supply demand, depending upon the need. And that is usually done by using forecasting models like time series-based models. And doing dynamic price optimization on publisher end would also mean that the advertiser end should have some component that can dynamically adjust their bid values as well in accordance to the price that the publisher is quoting. Now, say, for example, if they increase their open bid price, then the advertiser should be able to have a strategy that would accommodate that as well. So that is dynamic bid adjustment on the advertiser end. So this is usually achieved using supervised learning or even reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning in this case could be a reward value could be that the user basically performs a transaction, or there is a conversion using that particular ad that gets displayed on the publisher's website. So one
I have
other
a question.
yeah,
Sorry, Sankari. I have a question. Almost we are reaching the end of the hour, so I just want to make sure that, I asked this about the machine learning part that that you've been talking about. So, because there is a huge volume of data with all these transactions that as the numbers are changing, there's a time series of data that naturally lends itself to machine learning. I can see that instead of rule-based optimization, or at least the rules would be baked into the training data for feature engineering too, so that you can get real machine learning. But the question I have is, there is a conflicting interest, right, between the two parties. And if you just simplify this as buyer and seller, right? So on the buyer side, they want to optimize the bidding with the prices. They want to keep the prices low, but they also want to get the right traffic and conversion. And on the seller side, they want to get a higher price and they want to make sure that all their inventory is used up. So how do you actually, who owns the machine learning? Is there like different machine learning models that are built on different ends? Do companies individually create machine learning models, or the platform provides it, or like the Googles of the world provides it? Where is machine learning sitting here? Who owns it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So now, say for example, I can speak from the current ad bidding that we do in Expedia. So in my scenario, I work with ad bidding algos, which are used for generating bid values, and we post advertisements of Expedia on partner websites like Google. So in my scenario, we are the advertiser. So we have our own machine learning models. We train our machine learning models for generating based on the historical transactions, based on historical bid values, basically performances. We generate our optimal bid value, and then we send it to Google. Google has their own logic to place our advertisements. We are not the only advertiser. There are other advertisers like competitors like Booking.com. They have their own, they will also submit their bid values to Google. Now, Google has their own machine learning model. They have their own algorithms and logic to pick the best value in a way that they profit, and at the same time, they are able to deliver quality content to the user as well. So the profitability is in a way that they don't drive away the advertisers. So usually the ranges are set in a way that it is not too high, that it is too expensive for the advertisers to post their advertisements. So if the advertisements are costing too much, then advertisers wouldn't basically post on the platforms. So to answer your question as to how that balance is actually brought between the two, it has to be in a way that it has to drive revenue on both the entities. And the commonality, usually there are partner discussions with the advertisers, at least for major advertisements, we do have partner discussions directly with the partners, with the publishers. And uh, publishers like Google do share how quality scores are computed, and in a way that we would be able to make use of that logic to make sure that we are able to generate bid values that also meets that quality score. So we can post our advertisements on partner websites, like on publisher websites. So there's always a balance that is driven there.
So as an intermediary, Google would have visibility to Expedia, and at the same time, they would have the visibility to other competing travel sites. But they care about, their algorithm cares about optimizing revenue for Google.
For Google, and at the same time to retain the advertisers as well. So it's not that Google, so every time, if we actually think about it, every time an advertisement is posted and every time a user clicks on an advertisement, the advertiser has to pay the publisher. So that is the
Yeah.
cost per click, right?
Yeah.
So Google would post it in a way that now if Google always posts Expedia's, for hypothetically, if they post Expedia advertisements, if they rank it lower, then Expedia wouldn't really want to post it on Google because we are not achieving our reach. We are not achieving our goal. So that is where that balance is brought in. Now, assuming that we have the best quality score, and if Google is able to post our advertisements, and they have to be fair across all the advertisers as well, it
Yeah.
cannot be biased towards
Yeah.
just Expedia. So they have their own computational logic to make sure that is taken care. And they also have the exposure to user data. Now, when we submit advertisements, at least in this scenario, we don't really submit it based on user data. We submit it for generally for hotels. But Google has the control over user data as well. So they would be able to optimize it on that front as well. Now, if a user has been predominantly historically known for making bookings through Expedia or hotels, then they would prioritize that advertisements are ranking on top as opposed to other competitor websites.
Okay. That's very helpful. So it looks like there's a whole bunch of machine learning from every player happening there, and Google's still doing some kind of intermediation in this and optimizing for their own good also in this, right?
Yeah. Marketing again is going to drive revenue for every entity which is involved.
Yeah.
So the essential goal is conversion. But for Google, for the publisher, their main goal would be to make sure that the users are at least clicking the ad. And for the advertiser, the main goal is not just clicking. If the user is actually not performing a purchase through the click, then the advertiser is essentially not benefiting from it. So they have to make sure that they are able to benefit in a way that that click gets converted. So there is.
Sorry, can we stop sharing the screen? I just wanted to see your face here. 1 second. Okay, awesome. And we can bring it back on. That's all right. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you're saying on the advertiser side, they bring in the user and they want the click to convert. So there is also a downstream element, right? So they could have this as an acquisition strategy and bring more users,
Right, yeah.
top of the funnel, or ideally they want the user to come in and then go exactly where they want in their site and get to the conversion. So you're saying the machine learning that you would build if you're an advertiser is to convert that optimization funnel, not just the acquisition part of the funnel.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah, not just introducing the user to the product, but also making sure that they're purchasing. Probably the user, if it is a first time purchase, they would be able to, it is okay for them to get introduced. But in the second time, the goal is to make sure that there is a transaction that is getting completed end to end. This is where your experience of marketing analysis actually comes into picture, where you analyze different channels, try to figure out which channel is more effective, and then invest more for marketing. From marketing perspective, invest more in that channel. So yeah, that is where that is always a constant evaluation of making sure that all the advertisements or any of the strategies that we do is benefiting the product.
So this is a good session always leads to more questions at the end, and that's exactly what you've done. So I'm seeing that there is machine learning in the overall process of the entire transaction flow between the buyer and seller. That makes sense. And Google is optimizing to keep their piece across the entire ecosystem while they're optimizing their revenue. And then either parties are doing this. I'm familiar coming from Google. I'm not from Google, from eBay. I'm thinking about different channels. You optimize not just for the bid money, so that overall that there is revenues or the cost for
Yeah.
the acquisition, but we want to bring in users. So by the optimal channel, and then we want to actually bring the right user who's going to convert, not just the user who's just going to come and say, oh, I didn't mean to click here and go away. And
Yeah.
so it feels like AI is definitely needed because there is so much data here. And so when you said it's supervised learning, I understand, it might be even like reward based learning, right? So to optimize that. This is awesome. So if you want to go back to sharing your slide and finish up the rest of your class, that'll be awesome. And people who are here, if you want to add any question, I see there's a question. So I'm seeing a comment here. Would be great to do a follow-up session about the different ML modules in the end-to-end ad tech system. Thank you for that question, Ananya. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, different kind of machine learning, not just the models, but different machine learning applications that would come with the models on what it is doing. So maybe it's the same kind of similar supervised learning models that are applied. Maybe that it's applied with a different kind of data on different players in here. We in our class, we've learned something called a 4P model, where you understand what is the to take the to define the problem statement for the different stakeholders. So we follow this 4P model. That's one of my framework that I teach. Is you start with the business problem and who's the stakeholder and what is the pain point, to define what is the problem statement of what is the AI actually building. And in this case, I'm thinking so many stakeholders, conflicting interests, so it sounds juicy. So that'll be a fun exercise. And then I think we could have a discussion in our own community of WeeklyWed to even go dig deeper before we bring our speaker. Maybe she can come back and do another session at a later time. Okay, I'll give it back to you, Shankari, so you can wrap up and finish our session. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, the other thing that I just wanted to walk through is how are we actually making sure that all this is so, like we saw, there are a lot of components that are involved, and we have to make sure that whatever that strategy that we are using, whatever algorithm we are using, is actually benefiting the user as well as benefiting the product. So in order to make sure if you actually think of it, most of the algorithms are a mix of regression and classification models. So for offline evaluation, we just go with the regular metrics like AOC, log loss, and things like that. For classification and for regression, we just go with a regular MSE, RMSE, and regular scores that we use. Now, for where the actual evaluation comes into picture is the online metrics. Online metrics are like click-through rate, conversion rate, cost per click, how much have we actually generated, GP, and things like that actually makes a change in the business. So these are the business metrics that are tracked constantly online to make sure that we are able to drive or we are able to achieve the goal, whatever we are trying to target on. So that is, these are some of the, in order to track these, now again, in order to make sure that we are actually targeting and getting the right returns, this is where the components like DMP and DSP comes into picture for an advertiser, to make sure that they're able to have efficient ways to collect the data and perform analysis later. So yeah, that is what I wanted to wrap up with. This is just a quick slide on what are the possible metrics that we can use. And the other thing that which we didn't actually touch base on, and which we can actually think of, or where actually machine learning comes into picture in the whole marketing funnel, sorry, is in personalization. So both advertiser as well as the publisher will be able to personalize it according to the user, needs. And this is where, again, using the data in DMP, we'll be able to perform analysis and perform audience segmentation or using lookalike modeling. We'll be able to group users together and target them in a way that actually has a better reach for the product. This is one of the cases. And with Gen AI recently, at least over the past year, ad creative has been one of the areas that has been evolved a lot. So instead of just traditionally coming up with a single advertisement, ad creatives, by making use of diffusion models, ad creatives have been generated, and that process has been automated as well. And campaigns have been we have been able to optimize campaigns by making use of Gen AI as well. So there, and then like Sudha was mentioning about customer acquisition, it is not only about, so we are acquiring new customers, and also we have to make sure that we are able to retain the old customers. So what happens is, through the data that we receive from the marketing funnel, from the advertising funnel, we will be able to evaluate and do those. Now we'll be able to figure out who are the loyal customers. We can build models for evaluating what is the lifetime value of a particular customer for a product. Is it even good to invest in this customer or not? So these are some of the other areas that can be explored when it comes to machine learning. And this is how machine learning actually powers marketing, and how it actually powers advertising technology in general. So yeah, so that is all I had for the discussion today.
That's amazing. That's amazing. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We had heard of Gen AI being used in the creative copy, right? And it is in isolation, when you try to go prompt and create images, it's kind of not so perfect, right? And so to see that it is built into the campaign for optimization, I would like to see how that is evolving. So one of my passions as a technology futurist to see what are the gaps where my students can come in and make things happen, right? It's not just, we don't want to be passive users, because everyone here is a innovator trying to bring this. So so we learned a lot about ad tech and the players and machine learning in the whole flow of the value chain. Flow of ad and data that goes through for optimization of various players. This was so beautifully done. Thank you so much, Sankari. I appreciate that. So it's left us wanting more. So we are going to ask for you to come back and,
Sure.
maybe bring more of your colleagues if you want to learn how this is being done from your perspective, to see what the models are, how machine learning is done. And it's one of the things that I loved about today is whenever we say we are doing a series in WeeklyWed, and we have different speakers, and we focus on a theme, and we've been focusing on data and AI in different industries, because we have students and learners from everywhere, right? And so we did like automotive last week. And so when we were thinking about this as marketing, and ad is one thing, but what I realize is within this world, there's like competing interest of players. And I'm interested in saying, okay, where is there a gap so that somebody can come in, build that piece of technology, or apply that for their companies, or, there could be a upward stack where there's an existing player who's offering this, who could integrate Gen AI in some way. So it's like so many possibilities. So it's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sure we will be in touch. And if you want to, stop by any other time just to participate or attend, you're welcome to join here. And for those of you who are here, I don't have a bit.ly for the course I shared. I will just add the link at a later time if you want. Let me see if I have the link. And Deepika, sorry, Deepika.
I added the bit.ly link.
Oh, you have a bit.ly link.
Yeah, I found one.
Awesome. Okay, so that should lead you to the 15-day Gen AI course. And we will continue our conversation, and we meet here on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So this deck and recording and all of that will be shared in our newsletter. So if you just follow Business School of AI LinkedIn that should do the trick, and you can get everything. Most people don't know that Business School of AI on LinkedIn is actually my community of learners. So Ranin from my team actually does the newsletter and posting. So thank you, Ranin. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Shankari. Oh, I forgot. I do have a job posting that I'm going to post on LinkedIn, so you get to hear it first. We are looking for a machine translation person who can help us with translation from to teach actually a module as part of one of my courses on machine translation. So I'm teaching LLM and AI to a team. It's more like a trainer program. I will give all the details later. But if you have experience in machine translation, or even know enough of LLM, and I have multiple approaches of doing that, but I want somebody who can look at that and say, this approach is better, this is how we'll teach it. I would love to hear from you, and I will post that also on Business School of AI on LinkedIn. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Shankari, and we wish you good luck on your journey, and hope to see you back again as a speaker here.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me here. And it was really, really exciting. It was really great interacting. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye.
So I'm going to stop the recording on streaming on YouTube first, because that's where I saw people first. I have posted some of the comments in there. I've shared some screen grab to just get the discussion from here on LinkedIn, but we'll come back formally on Business School of AI on LinkedIn if you want to, get the deck and follow